Welcome to Game of Roses. This is Pace Case.
This is Bachelor Clues. And just because we're in the off season doesn't mean we are going to stop analyzing our beloved game.
We don't have an off switch, unlike our beloved game.
We truly don't. So what we're going to be doing today is taking a look at Bachelor in Paradise Season 10, which will be coming out next year in 2025. I think it's a crucial moment in not only the history of Bachelor in Paradise, but the franchise generally speaking. If they can't bring back their All-Star game correctly, I think there's going to be problems ahead for the Bachelor franchise. So we're going to be taking a look at what we expect to come from that season as it relates to a little program called Love Island. I am almost entirely done with my first viewing of my first ever season of Love Island, which has been Love Island USA Season 6. I think I have 4 or 5 more episodes left out of the 37 episodes that comprise that first season.
Rewatching, and I'm on you watching episode 30.
Yeah. Well, episode 31 was the heart rate challenge, which we will talk about here. It was my first ever heart rate challenge. Yes. Holy shit. But we're going to be looking at these two shows and kind of comparing them. What could Bachelor in Paradise take away from what is happening in Love Island? And is Love Island doing some things that might inform what we're going to see in Bachelor in Paradise Season 10. We obviously saw a little bit of that already happen in Bachelor in Paradise Season 9, which we'll get to. And I don't think they did it well. I'll simply say that.
I mean, I can't wait to talk to you about Split Week at the Estates now that you have finally seen the game element that they have taken this from. Love Island USA is doing the group dating, in my opinion, at the top. This is the bar that they have set, and therefore Bachelor in Paradise has to study it. They're not getting good ratings. They gotta keep up.
They don't have to study it. I mean, this is a kind of like larger overarching philosophical quandary I think that Bachelor finds itself in. Do they acknowledge that these other shows even exist, let alone that these shows are taking their market share? And I do think that in this year of 2024, in the absence of having a Bachelor in Paradise, many people turned to Love Island. There currently is Love Island Australia is airing. And everybody's blowing me up in the DMs that I got to watch that. I'm like,
watching that next.
Sorry, I don't have time to do 37 more episodes. But I don't know what the answer is to that. Are the producers looking at Bachelor in or at Love Island Season 6 USA or the current Australia one or any of them and saying they're doing it right? We should be doing things like that. It seems like they were because let's just start with this one.
Yeah.
Bachelor in Paradise Season 9 did Casa Amor, which is a game mechanic from Love Island in which about 3/4 of the way through the season, they take all of the couples who are in happy romantic partnerships and they rip them in half and they send all the guys to Casa Amor or vice versa. It could be the women, whatever. And all the women stay in the villa. Then they bring in a host of new guys for the women and a host of new women for the guys. And they see if they can shake things up. And then they force whoever left the villa. Usually six. I didn't know that. They forced the whoever left the villa to go to Casa Amor to come back either alone or with the partners that they have met in Casa Amor. And similarly, they force whoever stayed back at the villa to decide if they want to partner up with one of these new guys or stand alone and maybe recouple with the person who left them. So,
and there's this game element to it of they have no idea what's going on in the other house. So they're guessing what their partner is doing as well.
And they force both of those kind of new teams that are made to do challenges, a simultaneous challenge where they can scream and hear each other, but they don't know exactly what's going on. And these challenges involve dry humping, making out, all kinds of sexual activities. That component was never done in BIP Season 9. The only thing they did in BIP Season 9 was rip apart 2 or 3 couples who were together. They, if you'll remember, benevolently exonerated Michael Allio from having to partake in this with Maltby. And so it became very clear that the producers were giving them preferential treatment. That said, they did take this attempt. The producers of BIP Season 9 did say, let's try to do something like Love Island. Let's literally steal one of their game mechanics. And it was a disaster because the Bachelor producers don't understand the key functionality, the thing that makes it work in Love Island is that the players kind of all acknowledge this is part of the game. For the most part, everybody on Love Island at this point knows that Casa Amor is going to happen at some point. And they're kind of like, well, screw it. My significant other has to go off and has to do this. And I have to stay here and do this. And it's about how you, in quotes, move in the game. That's like a big component of like, you know, is what you're doing right or not? Is it
respectful? Is it not?
But I was just going to say, they put the onus of that on the players. It's never looked at like the producers are doing an evil thing to us. Whereas in BIP, all the players were like, this is bullshit, meaning the producers are screwing us over here, and none of them participated in it. They all just kind of like, do you remember them just like laying around and
crying
like, when
at
do
the
we
pool?
Get to? Exactly.
The only person who was playing was
disaster.
Shanae, and Shanae went and dated everyone. Thank you for your service. It's not just that that the players weren't expecting it, that they didn't respect it. They didn't choose the right timing. They didn't choose the right bombshells to come in. And it's like there is an element of chess with this, of like, Absolutely. When are you going to do it? When are you going to split this couple up? You want to do Casa before this couple is locked off so that it's actually quote unquote a test.
Yeah.
But they also did a really strange thing where at the end, when they recoupled, they dumped all of the guys, but kept the girls, or no, dumped all the girls or kept the guys. One of those.
Yes.
On
God
split weeks. On split week at the Estates.
They basically kicked out all the guys, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah. But then they just,
well, okay.
They just didn't do that with the other gender. It was very strange, and it was pretty miserable to watch. And like, yeah, I do think there's a way of doing it. But it takes a little bit more finesse than this. And you don't have to cast all like amazing bombshells in Casa. You just need a couple that are going to pop off and get with someone who like, oh, you don't think they're going to switch, but they are.
And I will say too, there's an attitudinal thing in Love Island that I've noticed with all the players. They kind of revere the game. And when they get kicked off, it is always reverence. Thank you so much. It was amazing to meet you all. This experience was incredible. They really do view it as a game where if they come into this experience, it might make them famous. And just to have been a part of it, to have been part of the legacy is like a feather in the cap. Whereas on BIP, it's a torture chamber. The people go there begrudgingly and they are terrified of every new thing that's going to happen. Whoever's coming down the beach, oh God, Jesse Palmer's coming out. They're scared shitless always. Whereas in Love Island, it is not that. They're excited. They're happy. They're honored to, have been granted a birth into this incredible game. And I think that attitudinal shift is like, it starts with the producers. The producers have to view the products differently. And I don't know if BIP does yet.
That's part of why I don't see these elements getting incorporated, is because Bachelor is very like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, with its attitudes towards a lot of different things. So it's like, in order to want to do that, you have to want to watch it and study it and be like, how could we do better? What are and it sounds like they are recasting the producers for BIP. So maybe there will be some changes.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the Casa Amor you watched was the first time I've seen it where they asked all the guys if they wanted to go or not.
I mean, that's what you saw on camera, but all of the guys went. They didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Well, I'm just saying they at least made it look like it was
they presented that as an idea, but it's not. They all had to go. There was that was acted 100%. They even focus on them. They're like, oh God, we have a choice. And I forget, I think maybe it was Kendall might've been the first one who's like, should we go? Hell yeah, let's go, guys. I mean, it's like a scripted movie comedy moment. That was fake, 100%.
Well, and that's something I love about like how, the game elements that are like these traditions are passed along, because now it's like when it's Casa, everyone freaks out and they're chanting and doing these dances.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing that they do ritualistically is the hideaway.
Yeah.
Whenever a couple is granted the hideaway, which is essentially BIP's boom boom room, where you can go have sex. And obviously this plays in differently. I'm watching a season now where they keep the hideaway open all season. Underutilized, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But everybody of their gender goes and helps them pick out a sexy outfit. And then they all like run under their arms as they both reveal their outfits to each other. And it's beautiful.
Well, the thing that you're bringing up, the hideaway versus the boom boom room, is I think a huge reason why Bachelor in Paradise was like flailing in the final season, certainly in season 9. The idea that this place is a paradise. It's literally called Bachelor in Paradise. So it is a paradise that you can go to find love, which includes romantic love, which includes sex. It is supposed to be sexy. Love Island is
the
that.
ads have the flamingos banging each other, the flamingo floaties.
And so if you look at like the hideaway, like you're talking about, when the players go into there, they have little notes all around the room. It's like pull for a good time. And then you pull this door open and it's full of, like masks and whips and sex toys and stuff. If you go into the boom boom room, all you're going to get from season 9 is Ashley Iaconetti's creamy Caesar farts. There is a big difference here in how sex and sexuality is conveyed in both of these shows. And BIP has turned it into a joke. And it is not sexy
or
at
Kira
all.
stealing someone else's vibrator who never makes it to the beach and using it alone. No sex between current players. The handcuff and like sexy lingerie thing that you're talking about too. I think this is a way that Love Island, I like keep coming up with things as we're going, but they involve SpawnCon way better than Bachelor in Paradise or Bachelor. They like all of the outfits are sponsored, and it just takes a little bit of like organization and stuff, but you can provide the entire wardrobes. The cast don't need to bring anything.
Exactly. And that also makes it more fun for the players. When you show up to go on a reality show and it's like the producer tells you only what you can fit in 2 suitcases, be here by this day. And that's it. It's like, oh, fuck, you're already scared. Like, am I bringing the right thing? How do I take 2 weeks off work? If on the converse, you get the call and it's like, congratulations, you're going to be in Love Island season 6. Here's your plane ticket. The limo will come pick you up. That's all you need. And then you show up. Here's your clothes. You're staying in this incredible place. Look at all these hot people. Here's all you can eat and drink. You don't have to worry about any of that. There's no crabs. There's no snakes falling out of the ceiling. It's that difference between
there's occasional discussions of mosquitoes when it comes to terms of people sleeping outside or not. But for the most part, it's not the torture chamber of Bachelor in Paradise.
No, it's the exact opposite. Those players are all having fun. The only kind of duress they're experiencing comes from the emotional situations they get themselves into, which is how the game should be. Bachelor in Paradise is the exact opposite. Not only is the environment hostile, it is made more hostile on purpose by the producers, forcing breakups, forcing narratives that don't exist, like the high school prom where they forced Abigail Herringer and young Noah Erb to break up at the end of it. And guess what? They're together now. Engaged, living together since that time. So it's
they're married.
Did they get married?
Yeah.
Jesus, how could I forget these things? My apologies to young Noah Erb and Abigail Herringer. I'm just saying that Bachelor in Paradise, up to this point, especially in seasons 7, 8, and 9, you could start to see this trend taking place where they were going to torture these players at levels we hadn't seen. And each season it got worse and worse and worse. I think culminating in Rodney Matthews in season 9, leaving voluntarily a self-elimination from the beach, and the entire cast breaks down sobbing. That to me was that was it. That was the end of Bachelor in Paradise as we know it. And if they don't get back on course in season 10, I think there are real problems for it. Those ratings of season 9, that's the only reason it was canceled or wasn't ordered in 2024 for season 10, is because the ratings were miserable. Not as bad as Joan Vassos' Golden Bachelorette, but it was probably I mean, yeah, I guess it was, right? It was the second worst rated Bachelor product of all time behind Joan Vassos.
But don't worry, Dark Lord Harrison got Bachelor in Paradise back on the schedule, according to a clip in our latest Digging Deeper, which was extraordinary.
Chris Harrison always taking credit for things. Let's move on to another element that I think is very important in why Love Island. It's an element that I think Love Island has a much better footing on than Bachelor in Paradise. I'll say that. It's the music. Mm-hmm. Bachelor in Paradise had that one old song, Almost Paradise. This is from the mid 80s. So a 30-year-old song or 40-year-old song. And that's the only kind of known music they would use. Throughout the season, they have all their little regular needle drop kind of background score songs they would use. But it just felt old. And even the intro of Bachelor in Paradise, where it's like an old 80s sitcom where they're like looking in the camera and winking and stuff, feels old as hell. Whereas Love Island, the music is super contemporary. They're licensing modern songs. They're getting covers of modern songs, and they're licensing and getting covers of fun songs from the 90s as well. So there is that nostalgia factor, but they don't use the same song again and again and again and again. Every episode has its own unique soundtrack, and the editors cut to that music. So you're basically just watching an hour of music videos back to back to back to back with dialogue thrown in. It's just brilliantly done. That's
the editing is incredible, especially when you think about the turnaround time that they have to do that. It seems like a nightmare.
I agree. And I think that the editing of it is like Bachelor in Paradise, and even The Bachelor as a whole feels on the technical side with the editing, with the shooting. It just feels tired, like they don't want to move out of their comfort zone at all. And I think if you got like an editor from Love Island, just hire one away and let them do what they do, you would be able to package Bachelor in Paradise much better. That's
and the music makes you feel the emotions, even if you don't notice it.
Absolutely. When they're asleep at night in Love Island, those are beautiful little sequences. I will say this with regard to music. I am going to be working on another album. I'm almost done with my EDM album, which is not about reality television at all. But what it has done is given me the ability to make very good EDM songs, I think. And so I'm going to have to then go ahead and do a whole album called Love Island, the soundtrack. And I've got the chorus for my first song, I think.
Ooh.
They're on Love Island. They constantly
release.
That's right. I'll give you just a little hint of it. And this may change, but this is where it's at right now. They're constantly talking about how fit they are on Love Island and how many times they work out, et cetera. Fit, obviously, meaning how hot they are. And so it goes, I hear it in my head as a British woman's voice, but I think it may have to change. I'm not sure. But it goes, I don't have a job being fit is my business. Fuck Miss America, call me Miss Fitness.
Great.
Thank you.
Love that.
We'll see where it goes.
Very alliterative.
Yeah, I like the way it sounds.
Speaking of how fit the cast is, the casting of Love Island and Bachelor in Paradise, they have different policies, which I don't even know if I would agree with. Love Island just gets the best characters ever, and they introduce them in a way that is reverent. We see the introduction of the OGs like Janae. They're in the water. There's a giant font thing bigger than their bodies of their name. We get this slow-mo as they're walking through the water that's like extremely sexy. Versus Bachelor in Paradise, people come in, clomp, clomp, clomp down those stairs. Yeah. There's animal noises. It's like the same every time. It's this waste of screen time because there's 20 seconds of staircase footage. And BIP has to cast from, the Bachelor franchises. I would argue it doesn't, but
I agree. I don't think it does
franchises.
Either. Well,
it could be the first third wave.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the first third wave is already Perfect Match season 3.
Yeah, that's
We're going to see that come out this year. But
the first network third wave group dating show.
It could be. I agree. They should expand it. I really do think that I don't know how Love Island casts. I know that they have little things like if you want to be on Love Island, you can apply. I know it's a similar kind of thing for all reality TV, but it almost feels like they just go to clubs in big cities and they're like, who's the hottest person in this club tonight? get him, get her. And that casting works.
Yeah.
Especially because they're so hot. All of them, like everybody on Love Island is the hottest person
so hot.
from whatever city or club they come from. Bachelor
it's literally a competition
is
of like
different.
how hot and how good at romancing you are.
Yeah. For the guys, it's like, what scale of bodybuilding are you at? Are you at an 8, 9, or 10? Nobody's under that, you know? You have like maybe one guy.
Occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally there'll be a guy who's
the
like
one doctor or
or he's only got
farmer.
a 4-pack. You just don't see it like that on Bachelor. You see like 1 or 2 people in every Bachelor pool who look like they could be on Love Island, and that's it. And I don't know, honestly, like if that's a difference between the two franchises that needs to be merged. I don't know if Bachelor needs to fix that, but I think what comes with that is these people who are super hot in their little fishbowl, when they all come together and they look around and it's like,
they're never
oh,
used
shit.
to being rejected.
Exactly. Either. There's an inherent like built-in character dilemma for almost all of these players because of that. When you take the cream of the crop and you put them all together and it's like, shit, well, now I'm not the hottest person here. Or maybe I'm comparable to everyone else, but like I don't stand out anymore. It's a
microcosm of Hollywood actors.
Yes, exactly. And it's fascinating to watch that. Yeah. Because invariably they bond, at least in season 6. You would think that it would cause some kind of villainy to happen, like a head-to-head where screw you, we'll find out who's the hottest. But that isn't what happens. There's camaraderie there, and it's great to watch.
It also ties into modern dating, and I feel like they cast F-boys, and I think there's, most of the audience is women. And I think there is something that is enjoyable about watching fuckboys go and be F-boys, but then they get caught and then they are they have to apologize for their behavior.
Totally.
And it's like read to them or it's on camera at movie night. But I think about Leah and I think about like Nicole and how they would have been portrayed differently if they were on Bachelor. Like I think either of them could have been cast, but they would have been underutilized. And the sexuality element would be tamped the F down. Oh, for sure.
I just watched the heart rate challenge in Love Island, where literally every one of these players is required to basically do a professional striptease on all of the other players. It ended with, and rightly so, they said this was saving the best for last. It ended with this player named Janae. I don't really know how to describe what she did. Her ass, she lays a man on the ground and her ass is literally on his face twerking for maybe a minute or so as he's pretending to have a heart attack. And what you see is exactly that. There is nothing left to the imagination. You see it all. And if you did something like that on Bachelor, first of all, I don't even think it would be allowed, the act itself. But in the presentation of it, you would have a black box. Network TV does not allow you to see this type of thing. But on Love Island, you can. I don't know how you get around that with Bachelor in Paradise because that's going to be on ABC. But there's this idea in Bachelor in Paradise but the black box turns it into a joke. It goes back to what we were saying earlier. Sexuality becomes a joke in Bachelor in Paradise instead of the main point of being there. And they need to get around that somehow.
You know what dance that made me think of like one player dancing on another? I was like, when does that happen in Bachelor? Guess what came to mind first? Tenley's dance that she did for Jake Pavelka.
Oh my God. That's a deep cut.
Let's just say it was a very different dance than Janae gave. It was more of a ballet style.
Yeah. I mean, the sexiness in the Bachelor world is implied, if anything. It's usually in fantasy suites when you see the light go out or the do not disturb sign get hung on the door.
Or you see the Bachelor shower.
Yeah, the Bachelor showering is a part of that, I suppose. But generally speaking, any of the nudity play, voluntary or involuntary, they black box it out. They turn it into a joke.
The human body is disgusting. It shouldn't be looked upon. And it's hilarious.
Yeah, you should laugh at people when they're trying to be sexy. And by the way, Love Island does that too. Some of the people, when they have to come out and do their strip routine, do kind of do it in a funny way, but it still is sexy. Yeah. And I don't know how you bridge that gap with Bachelor in Paradise, but they have to work on that. Because for anybody, again, who did not have a Bachelor in Paradise this year and they turned to an alternative, Love Island, after you see the heart rate challenge, like, I don't care about Kenny Brash coming down to the beach naked, or people doing a human churro, or Tia Booth talking about her China pot while being forced to play nude volleyball. These things they're not even in the same realm as what you're watching on Love Island. They got to up that. They have to figure out a way to make it sexy again, in my humble opinion.
Do you think they could add in these sexy stakesless challenges that they have for the entire cast on Love Island has to do them, like, I don't know, once a week?
Absolutely. The first one that I saw where I was really like, oh, that's genius, is the one where they make all of the players kiss all of the players blindfolded and then rate their kisses. Now, I know the ratings that's a fix. The producers lie about the numbers, and all the challenges are like fixed basically by producers.
And you could communicate with your partner, be like, I'm wearing this bracelet, feel for it, or whatever. Even
just the height. There's always some guy on all these shows who's like 9 feet tall. You know who that guy is when he's kissing you. You know what I mean? Or their hairstyle. Like, if you just reach your hand up and feel their face and their hair, you're going to get who that person is. So,
or that ass.
We did see some handfuls in last episode. Kenny on Janae. Kenny's a source boy, of course. That's Dallas, Texas.
I love Kenny and
my
Janae.
Home world. But yeah, me too. They're great. But the idea that these challenges in Love Island, the outcome of the challenges really don't matter in terms of like who, in quotes, wins them. It's more about how they fuck with the psychosocial dynamic of the group. And so when they make all these players kiss each other, who are in some cases in relationships already, and it's like, oh, but now you've got to kiss the guy or the girl that you like first were interested in when you came. It blows everything up. And they don't do those types of things on BIP. They don't even have challenges on BIP. Every once in a while, they'll have some kind of a group date thing where it's like, okay, all of you have to tell your PTC. But I think it could benefit from challenges like this for sure.
I think there should be way more group dates on Bachelor in Paradise. And I think that you can even improve upon Love Island, where you have stakes to the challenges, where
I agree.
The winning team gets a bombshell of the other gender, or they get to get a date card or anything like that. I think it would help a lot. We also have a hilarious unseen narrator in Love Island. How do we feel like that measures up against BIP's no narrator or occasionally DLP narrating?
You're talking about Ian Sterling.
Feel. Yes.
Who also, by the way, Ian Sterling, this is how deep I've gone down this fucking hole. I'm like watching TikToks and shit about Ian Sterling now. He has a comedy team of 2 writers that help him write all these jokes. Now, I will say the jokes in Love Island are terrible for the most part. That said, they have to do whatever it is, 10 to 12 of these jokes. There's one that exits and enters every portion of the show to kind of like reset what the, this couple's together, this couple, or this guy's about to go do whatever.
How many jokes an episode is that?
10 to 12. And they have to do that every episode on a daily basis. Love Island is 5 days a week. So I cut them some slack. The volume of work there is incredible. Bachelor in Paradise has 9 to 12 episodes, period. And you shoot the whole season and have months before it airs to write, if you want to come back and do voiceover jokes. But the jokes that are in season.
Or write a Sally Suitcase skit.
Yeah, like Sally's Suitcase, the Truth Box, the Creamy Caesar, the Poop Baby, all of these things. I would rate
Ashley Iaconetti.
I know.
When she mentioned Creamy Caesar on her podcast, I was like,
oh God. I feel so bad for her. And yet I don't. She still is one of the greatest players of all time. I think that the comedic quality of both programs is roughly the same. Very bad. I would give a slight edge to Love Island because it at least seems to kind of get itself a little bit, whereas BIP seems to be like, we are making comedy at the expense of the players. We're going to make them look dumb, laugh at these players. Whereas the Love Island is more like
the
laugh
night
at
one
the show.
intro they did. I don't remember who it was last season, but they did their Chiron as a night one player. Does anybody remember who this is? And then they edited it to look like, oh, no one knows who this is. No one cares when they came in.
Yeah, exactly. There's a difference in Love Island and Bachelor in Paradise or the Bachelor franchise just generally, which is Love Island. They're sneakier about how they will fuck players over. And it's never just right at face level. Bachelor will do it right at face level. Clayton Echard, read these mean tweets about yourself. Sally's suitcase, the poop baby, all these things where they're just like openly
Jen,
making fun of the players.
This proposal next to Devin.
Exactly. And Love Island doesn't do that. They hide it in more kind of like hard to see locations where they'll do the stick or twist challenge, and they'll tell one player, if you leave the stage, that means you want to stay with your partner. And they'll tell the other player, if you stay on the stage, that means you want to stay with your partner. So they like do two opposite things, thinking they're going to get the same result.
That challenge was so confusing to me.
It was to me. It was to the players also. But they'll do it like in a more hidden kind of way. And it's never
behind
ever,
text messages.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Like, they sent this guy home on the UK season that I was seeing, and I was, oh wait, no, it was on USA. The blonde guy who Liv brings back from Casa. Kane. So Kane is not popping on screen, and they just want to get rid of him. So they're like, okay, well, you lose your partner, that or you choose a new person, and then he's single. Oh, you're dumped. And it's like that position, you either get dumped or you stay, or you go on a date right away, or you go on 3 dates right away, or you go in the hideaway overnight with two other players, which is what Bergie did.
Yeah, they give
when he was quote unquote dumped.
I mean, that's a game mechanic thing that I think Love Island actually does a lot better. The players who enter the game late aren't just like iced out completely. Like I remember when they brought in McKenna Dorn in season 7, I think, or 8. And she had to like try to pretend to like Ed Wastebrough, but he didn't like her. And it's just like, they're done. The players you bring in late game in Bachelor in Paradise have no shot. Love Island can kind of pull it off. Characters will get whole episode arcs if they come in late and potentially stick around. So, I mean, that's something I would look at if I was Bachelor. I mean, look, we did a whole episode called How to Save Bachelor in Paradise. One of the things we talk about is don't have staggered entries. Have all 40 players there on day one. And then it's more of a game of attrition, kind of like a Squid Game challenge where you whittle that 40 players down to your like 2 or 3 couples that are going to get engaged in the end. That's a more interesting show, in my opinion. And by the way, keep those players around. Send them to a second location where it's like the losers bracket. Let's see what's going on there, And I mean, this is an element that they have that Bachelor in Paradise would have to completely change how they're shooting. But a way that they keep the cast constantly interesting is the country is always voting for who they want to keep. They're pick your favorite guy, pick your favorite girl, pick your favorite couple. Who do you think is not here for the right reasons or whatever? They're constantly checking in with the viewership of who they want to see on camera. And then you don't get floaters. You don't get couples that just pair off. And then as long as you're paired off, you're fine in Bachelor in Paradise, even if you're not bringing anything to camera. I don't think
so
BIP
everyone
can
is
ever do
always
that, though,
playing.
Because it's a difference in production.
That's
Love
what
Island
I mean. You'd have to change the production.
Yeah, you'd have to shoot basically live. You'd have to shoot an episode over the course of 3 days, air it later that week, and then let people vote and then shoot the next episode. And they're just not going to do that because the production cycle of Bachelor in Paradise is like 2.5 weeks and it's over. And they stretch that out into 10 episodes over the airs over the span of 2 months, roughly.
Change it. Make it Love Island.
I don't think they're gonna. I think that ship has sailed and ain't never coming back. What you got? Go ahead.
one of the other things that they do that is very different from Bachelor in Paradise on Love Island is that they have shown players' Instagrams in their intro package. They have players openly talk about social media. The players have fake phones, which are for two purposes. One, getting texts from the producers, aka the Love Island gods who just do whatever they want. And two is they are making social media content in the game with these fake phones.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do too. And they also, I just saw a promo for the current Australia season that's airing of Love Island, where the host is walking down the sand and is like, we've got 20 new sexy singles who are here for Instagram followers. I mean, love. They're here for love. They openly acknowledge, even in the promotion of the show.
Sophie, she's good, that host.
She is. That open acknowledgement of the integration of social media into reality TV is just honest. And at its core, like, all these shows lie to us. They all say that they are about helping people find love. That is not true in the remotest case. The producers of these shows don't view it that way. The producers only care about ratings. They're looking for drama. They're looking for love triangles, fights, nervous breakdowns, etc. That's what the show is to them. To ABC,
all of their challenges are arranged that way. Pie, marry, kill, kiss the person you think is the hottest, lick the face of the person you don't trust, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And to the players coming in, it's about social media fame. Can I come into this experience and get enough Instagram followers, TikTok followers to make that my career and maybe pop enough to get in a successive season or a different franchise or whatever? It really is a professional sport, as we constantly talk about on this podcast. And so to not acknowledge that, or to punish players for saying that or behaving in a way that is commensurate with the idea they might want to be famous on Instagram, is insane. At this point in 2024, you have to fully embrace that, because that is what it is. And as an audience, the fourth audience, as we call ourselves, we are smart enough to know that it's a lie, and we're okay with that. It's like pro wrestling. Everybody knows them. It's fake. Exactly. We want to see that, but we also want to see the show allow them to indulge in that part of the game. We know that's why they came here. Let them play. Let us determine if they're playing good or not by putting that number next to their head on Instagram. But don't punish them for talking about it because we talk about it.
No, it feels like we're being gaslit by these shows when they act like, oh, it's evil to come on here for social media, like Piper, James, and Brendan Marias on BIP when it was shown that they were talking about followers, and then they ended up losing brand deals because of how they were portrayed on the show. It is a contest to be an influencer.
Yeah.
Period. Like, that's what we're watching. But it has this amazing element where you're like, okay, but they also have to be genuine, the people you're following. So the people that tend to pop off are the people that seem the most genuine, or for TRR or whatever, or are just the most entertaining. And you're like, what is this person doing? Like Rob.
And the beauty of the game is that people can fall in love and get married and have kids, that is a component of this. As much as it's about the social media and the fame and all of that, that doesn't mean that it is also not about finding love. It is always about both. And every player is on a spectrum of how much do they want fame versus how much do they want love. You can have both. And that's, to me, why this entire, we call it a game, but like reality dating TV, basically, why it's the most interesting sport in the world to me is because it incorporates so much of real life, the real persona, as well as the kind of pushed fake version of themselves that they're doing for the camera. And it's like somewhere in between, some people actually fall in love. Some people become giant Instagram celebrities. It's, I don't know, beautiful to me to watch. And I wish BIP would lean into that.
A scientific experiment, put all these people in here. They're trapped here for 3 months. And that's part of, I think, why people connect more with the Love Island people. There's more episodes. You're connecting more with the cast, and they're connecting more with each other because they're living with each other 24/7. I mean, I obviously you can't change the production schedule, but I even think they are using the moments that people are on camera better than they are using them on BAP, so that you feel like you know them more.
Oh, totally.
For the same amount of screen time.
There are little things that they include in the Love Island edits. Like I was watching one episode where Rob Roush is going to talk to his dynamic duo partner, this guy named Aaron, about some date went bad or good. I don't even know what they were about to talk about. It's just this little moment. They're walking up the steps to this kind of raised platform that has a couch on it where a lot of people do their conversations. Rob bends over, finds something on the ground, picks it up, and just throws it into the distance as hard as he can. And it's like, that has no bearing on whatever is about to be talked about. It has no bearing on his character. It has nothing. It's just this little moment of like, what is that guy? What's he fucking doing? He's just like this weird wild man who's going to throw shit into space if he finds it on the ground. But it lends such a reality to the idea that they're trapped in this place. And like even something like that, even finding just a little rock or whatever it was that he threw can provide a moment of some kind of weird entertainment for him in this otherwise, sterile environment. That's fascinating to me. And on Bachelor in Paradise, you don't see those moments. And it may boil down to a matter of like Bachelor in Paradise has to boil down everything that happens in a week or whatever to these little 90-minute chunks of media. Whereas Love Island is 30 some episodes. So it's a kind of constant churn. They need things to fill time. So maybe they put in these little asides, but Bachelor in Paradise needs to do that. It's what allows you to see them as people when they're not just talking about how I feel about you. What love level am I at? Who went on the date? You have to get away a little bit from the game mechanics, in my opinion, to flesh them out as people, which Love Island does great.
And part of seeing them as people is that they tend on Love Island to let the players play. Mm-hmm. You don't feel the producer influence as much, even though obviously everything is heavily curated by the producers. And so you have people being more open. You have people taking more risks. Like, oh, I will bring this person back from Kaza. Like, fuck it. And you're able to get much more genuine seeming moments instead of kind of the same, what you're talking about, the same conversations about love levels over and over again.
Well, there's the thing that I think it boils down to really is this. The players on Love Island are allowed to imply that they are in a game kind of constantly. You always hear like Janae constantly talking about taking L's. I can't take another L in here. Or players would be like, I just look stupid. I look
this
like,
is this is going to be embarrassing.
And the second part of that, which they don't say out loud, is like, I look stupid to who? This is going to be embarrassing for me because who is watching? Us. They're implying it's us. I look stupid to the fourth audience. It's not to the other players. And that is admissible. Bachelor, I think, cuts any of that out. They try to completely mesmerize us into thinking there are no cameras here. This is not a TV show. These are just people on a beach talking about finding love. But Love Island lets you in on that a little bit. It lets the players kind of announce that they know they're in a weird TV show circumstance. And some of the things we have to do, like if it's in challenge, it's okay. If you have to make out with somebody, part of a challenge, that's part of the game. Bachelor in Paradise doesn't do that. They make everything seem like it is only about relationships. And it's like, but wait a minute, we're living in these palapas with crabs crawling up our ass. And David Spade is a guest host on one season and stuff. It's like, how is that real? So I think BIP could learn from that.
Who was that? Was it Deanna who was the poolside chat between two people on BIP who were like, they came here for a TV show and they're both literally on camera.
Yeah, there's like 3 cameras around.
So
I remember making a meme of that. I was just like, this is absurd.
Can you believe they're here for a TV show?
Yeah. I will say one area where I think Bachelor kind of has a leg up from Love Island is that Bachelor, the franchise, has this bigger prize to ascend to, which is becoming the Bachelor or Bachelorette, becoming the star of an entire season of the show. Love Island doesn't have that. It is always a group challenge or a group dating challenge. And yes, you might be able to come back in another season or something. You might be able to be a bombshell. Well, you can come back in another
season. You can come on for After Sun. And Maura Higgins is now hosting that because she was such a good player on UK. Yeah. You can come back as a host, and now they have the spinoff series Love Island Games, so you can come back on that. But yeah, it's not a full show about you.
Yeah, you still have to, like, even in those other successive things, if you could come back, it's like you're still going head to head against like other fantastic players. Whereas in Bachelor, I mean, we've seen it before. It's not often, but we've seen it obviously with Vial. We saw it with Colton, Underwood. You can do a little tour on Paradise, and that can be kind of like your final audition to wear the crown if you play it right. They obviously did. And so I think that Bachelor has that leg up, and Bachelor has the leg up of legacy. It's been on the air longer than anybody else. And I think including legacy players is always a smart thing to do. And it still has the prestige. I think it still is the Cadillac. Yeah, it's probably
seen as, quote, less trashy.
Right. But there's a way to do the sexiness and the fun without being trashy on network television. There certainly is. There have been plenty of network TV shows over the years that when they come out, it's like, oh my God, it's so sexy. I remember when Desperate Housewives came out, it was like that. People couldn't believe this show was on network TV. It's like, you can do it. You just have to be good at it. And you have to like care about the product you're making, which I don't know if the VIP producers do anymore.
Hard to say, Clues. Hard to say.
Hard to say indeed. But time will tell, I guess. We're going to see very soon. There's one other thing that is kind of interesting to me in Love Island. They do a good job of using the location. Obviously, they build their set, so they have complete control over how it's going to look and what it's going to be like for the players. But they put neon signs over the different locations, like Soul Ties, for example, or the Hideaway. And so you have, as a viewer, this visual recognition of like, that place is important, and that's what it's called. In Bachelor
the terrace is where you take people up to go kiss.
Yeah, exactly. Or the dock or whatever. The Bachelor in Paradise equivalents of these things, like the Boom Boom Room, the Palapa, the day beds, they don't have visual recognition of any of this. So it's just like when they're there, somebody says it and you kind of tie it to that.
You have no idea the geography of the situation. I don't know where the Rose Palapa is.
Yeah, that's also true. Well, shit, forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
Anyways, it's all right. That's, yeah, they use this visual naming kind of system, I think, a lot better in Love Island, which is, to the viewer, important because these places become very meaningful. In Bachelor in Paradise, the Boom Boom Room was, it was an afterthought. It was a remedy to what happened with Corinne Olympios and DeMario Jackson in the pool, where a producer saw them making out drunk. This was in season 6, I think. Saw them making out drunk, thought a sexual assault was taking place, shut the whole production down, and they had to do a big investigation. And then when the show picked up production again, they all had to give a verbal consent on camera that they wanted to be there. And then the Boom Boom Room was born. You had to then ask producers for the key to that room that you were both going to go into. We've seen on Love Island, they do a thing where people press a little button on the beds if they want to give consent. And in some versions of the show, a neon heart. Yeah, are you not aware of this? In some versions of the show, they have these neon hearts above the bed in 2 halves. And if each person presses their button, the whole heart lights up. And so that's how
everyone can tell if they're hooking it.
Or if they're down to, at the very least. I mean, that's another component of this that's like where the people sleep in Bachelor in Paradise are these hot, sticky, shitty bunk bed, just like out on the beach thing. In Love Island, they're all sleeping in the same room. And if you're coupled up, you're sleeping in a bed together. People have sex right there in these rooms, in these goddamn beds. You don't ever see that in BIP. I think particularly because the environment is like not conducive to it. What are you going to do? Roll up into the snake falling out of the ceiling and crab bed and then start having sex?
I mean, obviously we think we should change the location for BIP 10, fresh start, do it in a mansion. What if they did a room where all the couples had to sleep together? It would definitely change the show.
Too Hot to Handle does it too. As long as it's a nice environment, you know?
Yeah.
Like it can't be this shitty, just open to the elements thing. That is not conducive to having a hot, steaming moment between two players. You got to put them in a nice environment.
Or all
all
the shots on Golden Bachelorette of the guys asleep or snoring. We want to think of these people as the sexiest, hottest possible people in the world. That's why we're here.
Who are having fun. That's like, to me, the bottom line is the Love Island players are having fun. At least it looks like that. The Bachelor in Paradise players literally never look like they're having fun. Even down to the moment of like, think about when Grocery and Serenior he was about to propose to her. And the last thing the producers do to Grocery is send in Kendall Long for one final fuck you to him. And you can even see the look on his face when she shows up. He's kind of like, Jesus fucking Christ, guys. Are you kidding me? Like,
and they tricked her too.
Tricked her to come down. If people fall in love, encourage that, support that, let it happen, because that's the rarity. You don't want to have what happened in BIP season 9, where you had 3 couples in the end that you all forced them to propose to each other, and then they dumped each other on social media literally 3 business days after the airing of your final episode.
Literally the legally acceptable time to show that you have broken up.
Exactly. That's very minimum. Bad for the show. You don't want that. You would rather have it be a season where a bunch of people show up. The environment is conducive to all kinds of shit. So you've got a bunch of people having sex and love triangles, and it all blows up in everybody's faces through their accord, not because the producers are mandating it. And then no one ends up together. That season is more entertaining than the fake forced, oh my God, I love you so much. Just kidding. We want to be friends 2 days later. You can't force these things.
And
don't
people end up together despite what happens. Like, and then they try to claim them, like Noah and Abigail. I'm like, you can't claim them as a BIP couple. You made them break up. Same with Becca and Thomas.
Exactly. And that, I think, is one of the big pieces for BIP to learn. One of the big lessons is really like, don't overproduce it. I know BIP has this formula. The producers literally have it. It's these players will show up. Here's our first love triangle. Here's our first villain. Mm-hmm. This is the A couple that we're going to promote through the whole season. And they make sure that shit happens, whether it works or not. And
don't let people talk to other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Often.
Sequester people if necessary to promote whatever thing they've pre-written. Don't do that. Produce the season. Get the players together. And you can have in your mind like, oh, this person and this person they're going to fight or they're going to work out. You can have that in your mind. But if that's not what happens, produce the thing that does happen.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And I think Love Island does a pretty good job of that. Again, they're heavy-handed in some cases where they are like I'm at this point right now where Rob just broke up with somebody, and they clearly want him on the show. It's like 10 seconds after that conversation of the breakup, it's like a new bombshell arrives, and you're like, okay, well, they're gonna keep Rob on the show.
I'm okay with that. Service your stars, and that's what the last BIP season. Olivia, I really felt like carried it on her back.
Absolutely.
Olivia Lewis, because she was so funny, but they did involve her in a love triangle in the first episode, I want to say, or the second, where it was like a love triangle with all these people that ended up not being on the show long term. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you don't need to force these things. Don't focus on the love triangle if it's not interesting. Focus on the more interesting characters that are popping.
Totally. And they do a thing on Bachelor in Paradise. They pay you to go on it. So if you're in the Bachelor franchise and you come in your rookie season, you don't get paid shit for being on Bachelor or Bachelorette. If they ask you to come on Paradise,
but they should be paying people.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. It incentivizes them to stay. It incentivizes them to play well, etc. But in Paradise, you get paid for how long you stay there, literally a daily rate or weekly rate, depending on what your contract negotiation is. And the superstar players do get paid more. I mean, they can negotiate big deals for themselves. Big-ish. Again, you're only there for 2 weeks. You might walk a good deal. Like if you last through the whole thing, you might walk out of there with like 20 or 30 grand, That's pretty good for 2 weeks of work, right? But the money on Bachelor in Paradise is never going to be enough to be life-changing. So players still will bail. You'll see people just be like, fuck this, I'm out of here if the producer's hand gets too heavy. And you don't want that. Like, you'll never see that on Love Island because the experience of being there, whether you're getting paid or not,
rare.
is fucking beautiful.
I've seen there have been self-eliminations, but they're extremely rare in Love Island. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's like a person taking quote unquote too many L's.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, okay, this isn't for me. Like, and they'll self-eliminate, but barely ever. And BIP, that one season, everyone self-eliminated. One person, Sally came down, self-eliminated immediately. Like, it doesn't look like a fun place to be if everyone's trying to get out of there.
Sally never, you're talking about Sally Carson.
No, didn't someone just go?
Sally Carson never showed
down
up
and then walk right out. Who was
Sally Carson self-eliminated on Clayton Echard's season of The Bachelor before night one, and then never appeared on Bachelor in Paradise. Her suitcase made it, but she didn't. Remember, that was the whole bit.
Who came down and just checked out the scene and then left?
Was it? No, it wasn't Bibiana. She stayed a little longer. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember who it was. Yeah, it was like, I can't remember. I'm out.
But I remember Teddy, that PVC player once, she self-eliminated and then later revealed it was because they said she had to date one person and couldn't date the other people. Huh?
Exactly.
She was one of your lead people.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, back to the point we're talking about. These producers' hand is too fucking heavy in Bachelor in Paradise. You gotta.
So this is kind of like our How to Save Paradise Part 2.
It is. Well, look, 2025 is a month away or whatever. And I really think I think Grant Ellis' season is going to be very good. We don't know about that next Bachelorette season. We don't know who that Bachelorette's going to be. Likely somebody out of Grant Ellis' season. Maybe Maria Georges. I don't know if she could still turn that around.
Just pay her.
This is, to me, a perfect 2025 for Bachelor.
Okay, manifest.
Grant Ellis. I already think that season's going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's going to be a player in there to rival Maria Georges. If there is, great, make it her. If there's not, Maria Georges is your Bachelorette. Yes. Charles Ling is your Golden Bachelor. Yes. Then BIP season 10 is more like a Love Island.
Charles Ling.
Than a BIP.
Love Island BIP 10.
And you better have, if Maria Georges isn't your Bachelorette, she better be in BIP season 10 and you make her the star of it, period. Make her the absolute star of it.
Pay her whatever she needs.
$1 million. And make that a story. Like,
give her outfits.
Of course, give her outfits. But the idea that they don't understand, if you pay these players and you pay one of them way more than the others, put that in the press while you're casting so that the other players see it. And they know when they come to the beach, fuck, there's Maria Georges. She got $1 million to be here. Let that be the psychosocial dynamic that opens your show. See what those other players do with that. She has $1 million. I'm only getting paid $250 a day. That's insane. Let me see that show.
It is wild that everyone makes different amounts of money on BIP.
Well, it's just like they should
pay pay the minimum SAG rate for the people on Bachelor and Bachelorette, because I think even if you're getting a tiny bit of money, you're going to turn in a much better performance than if you're unpaid and taking time off work.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is it just boils down to budget and how much money is the show making versus how much is it costing. Right now, I think all network television is in this precarious moment where it's like, we all know it's dying. We all know it's going to be gone within probably 10 years. And so it's kind of like, how lean can we make these shows budgetarily, especially reality TV? And if part of it is like, we don't pay the cast, that's never changing, I don't think. BIP, traditionally, they do pay the cast, so I don't think that'll change either. But like hemorrhaging, I know it's easy for us to sit here and be like, you should give Maria Georges $1 million. Adding $1 million to the production budget of any of these seasons is like, nobody at ABC or Warner Brothers is going to be down for that.
It doesn't need to be $1 million. It's not like Tyler Cameron for Bachelor, but pay her a lot.
If you want to make it a story, like in the news, in whatever the entertainment trades that cover reality television, it has to be $1 million or no one gives a shit. Like, oh God, they paid Maria Georges $20,000. No, I don't. Who cares? A million is just, you want to see that $1 million in the headline. I'm not, look, I'm just saying,
$1 million.
Imagine you see, well, whatever. I was going to say, imagine you see a story about Maria Georges getting 100,000. We obviously would know what that means and would cover it as news. But I don't think, like, the average viewer, if you want to make like a big kind of statement, it would have to be $1 million. That, I think, would get out to the Bachelor Nation fandom at large. But
you know what?
I don't know. I don't think they'll do that.
A really great part about Maria Georges becoming the Bachelorette. You know who would be so mad? The person who pretended to not know who she was. Your great
Who's
one.
That? Vial said he didn't know who she was? No, he did not.
But then
when
it came out that he had liked all of his Instagram posts.
Yeah, well, I know that part. I don't remember him saying he didn't know who she was. Damn, that's cold.
Well, it was like a thing of omission. He didn't say he knew her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh, could you imagine this? BIP season 10.
Okay.
If they do, God, please do this. Producers, if you're listening, please do this. BIP season 9, you brought back Ashley Iagonetti and Jared Iagonetti, and you set them up in that boom boom room. They were there. They were doing a residency. BIP season 10, it should be Nick Vial and Natalie Joy. Give them a vacation away from their newborn child. I guess not newborn anymore. It'll be over a year old at that point. But invite them to paradise. Put them in the boom boom room. Bring the great one back to the sands. Why?
Yeah.
I want to see the great one play again. A little bit. I mean, it won't be real actual play, but like.
He's like, here I am for the Circle of Pain part 2 on sand.
Yes.
Sand pain.
Don't you want to see him back on sand?
I mean, I want to see it for you. I just want you
I want to
see
him get behind that bar, elbow Wells Adams out of the way, and be like, when I was a bachelor, da 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 da. I mean,
I think you bring Caitlin Bristow and Zach Clark, and then you bring Tayshia and the guy she's with from what was he on? Summer House? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Nick Vial. And Sean Booth.
And Sean Booth.
Yeah, get them all there. Get Caitlin Bristow, Nick Vial, and Sean Booth on sand. No, but you could do Nick Vial, Natalie Joy. God. Oh, fuck. They just need to do that. That's what BIP season 10 should be. It should be a fucking all-stars of everybody from the last 6 or 7 years who blew it up.
It should be all-stars. It's the 10th season. Only bring back stars.
Whoever's single.
Only bring back people with big followings.
Yeah. Whoever's single and under 40, throw them on. Even over 40, some of them.
Get
Who cares?
Bukowski in the mix.
Oh my God.
No, he's very happy.
But Bukowski.
Get Bukowski and Anna, and they're looking for a throuple.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can't do people in couples, but yeah, there's some big heavy hitters out there who are single. And you could even be going through like Dale Moss and shit, you know, bring some ring winners of the bubble seasons. Moines.
Moss.
Yeah. Anyways.
Jen Tran.
Is she single? I think she's dating the dancing guy.
I'll believe it when I see a kiss.
Okay, fair. Anyways, that wraps up our analysis of what we think BIP can learn from Love Island. Hopefully we will see some of this stuff implemented. I'm just I mean, whatever, this is almost a year away, but I still am like starting to get nervous about it. I am. I don't know what to tell you. I just think they have like,
I mean, you're watching Love Island and you're like, oh, this is what you're competing against.
Yeah. And it ain't the same. Love Island is just at a kind of objective level, a 10 times better show than Bachelor in Paradise. At least the last 3 seasons of Paradise. It has to course correct.
And at least this Love Island season. Part of it, I think, is that they focus on this little friend group, the OGs, Kaylor, Aaron, Cordell, Serena, Janae, Leah, Rob.
Yeah.
They focus on them, and it's kind of like you're seeing who they all date. It's kind of like a mini Bachelor, Bachelorette. I think that the friendships are extremely important, showing that people are finding love and friendship. The audience loves that.
Well, there's definitely kind of like a group mentality. If you come into the group, if you're like Goldini, for example, Harrison, when he comes in and the guys are like trying to pump him for information and he's like, fuck you, I'm not doing that. I'm playing it close to the chest. It's a little bit like, oh shit, are they going to ostracize him? There's more of a group mentality with the OGs for sure, which I don't know.
And your second audience game is even more important because you have to vote people out constantly. So you are trying to be best friends, especially with the opposite gender, so that they won't vote you off, even if you don't have a relationship partner.
Exactly. Whereas on BIP, sometimes they'll fire in a nuclear missile to be like, hey, dude, you need to go start a fight with that guy. That's your entire purpose for coming onto sand. And that type of shit never works. I remember they did that with the Mayor of Paradise. And God, what was that guy's name that got in a fight with him? I forget.
Chicken? No. Wasn't he a chicken guy? Some sort of fool at it. Always be Cam? No.
I don't remember who it was, but they multiple times have done that. Clay Harbor had a nuclear missile sent in after him at one time, I believe. At any rate.
Anyway, join us. We are going to have a very special episode for Thanksgiving coming out on Friday. Get ready. And also listen to our Digging Deeper, patreon.com/Game of Roses. This week's was extraordinary. And we got into the Tyler Francis Love is Blind story that even though you declared it had stopped, officially, it did not stop.
It never ends. The Tyler Francis story will be the last thing I do before I die. Hopefully wrapping that one up. Also, if you've never seen Love Island, I know we talked a lot about all these things in Love Island. If you've never seen it, I was you about 2 months ago before I started doing this Clues Corner on Love Island season 6. And I have to say, I absolutely love this show. And I think it is pretty much, if you're into dating games at all, and if you're listening to this podcast, you are, because you're watching The Bachelor. This show is the best group dating format that exists, period. It's unbelievable. So you may want to do yourself a favor. You can dip in to our Patreon and check it out with me, this Love Island season 6. And you don't even have to sign up for the full Patreon if you don't want to. You can just buy that season by itself if you're so inclined at patreon.com/Game
I feel so vindicated you going through it and just being like, this show is so fucking good. You just say it like every episode. You're just like, oh my God.
It's unreal.
It's great.
It blows my mind. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, they are doing basically things perfectly. I have some minor nitpicky things here and there, but it's just a perfectly constructed game, in my opinion.
How do you watch it? I want to say it's Hulu.
How do you watch what?
Love Island.
Oh, no. It is not Hulu. It is, in fact,
I'm
Peacock.
watching the UK season on Watch it on Peacock.
Same thing as Traders. So if you're going to watch Traders, you already got it.
By them.
Yeah, that is correct. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. And like Pace Case said, stay tuned for our Friday episode. You are not going to want to miss that one.
Praise be Dark Lord Palmer.
Please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast. Please get a friend to listen to us. And then please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast.